All right, you guys, so I hope you did good on your Kahoot. You should be really comfortable with this vocabulary now. We're going to start using it a lot. So if you need to go back and review, feel free. But we're thinking deeper about circumference now. It's not just enough to know what circumference is, that it's the distance around a circle. We want to be able to actually find the circumference of things, okay? We want to know more about the circles in our lives. Think like pizzas, bicycle tires, donuts. We can find the circumference of all of that stuff, you guys. And to be able to do that, we have a simple formula. Okay, so you're going to be married to this formula for the next, few weeks. It's easy to remember. The formula, well, one of the formulas actually, the formula for finding circumference is pi times diameter. C equals pi times diameter. C equals pi times diameter. Remember that, memorize it, keep it in your head. So C stands for circumference, pi stands for pi, but remember we use 3.14, so in your calculator you would type in 3.14, and then D stands for diameter. So when you solve for circumference, you guys, you're going to be given values. It's either going to give you the circumference or it's going to give you the diameter. Guess what, you guys? You always know pi here. You always know that you can fill in 3.14. That is automatically going to be written down, okay? So you're going to be solving for one of these things. Use a variable to represent what you're solving for. I just told you guys, you're going to actually have two potential formulas to use for circumference. When we learned about diameters and radiuses, we know that they have a relationship, okay? So actually, if we have a diameter, we can actually represent circumference with radiuses as well. So our formula for using the radius for circumference is 2 times pi times r. And that should make sense in your head because 2 radiuses give me 1 diameter. So you have two potential formulas here. Circumference equals pi times diameter, or circumference equals 2 times pi times diameter. Okay, now notice C, circumference, pi, 3.14, D is diameter, R is radius. So let's practice a little bit. Get a piece of paper out. I'm going to walk through some examples with you. Write it down so that we can remember it, okay? So here my problem says the diameter of this pizza is 12 inches. What is the circumference of the pizza? Round to the nearest tenth. Okay, well, it gives me diameter here. So I am going to use C equals pi times diameter because that one's going to be a little bit easier to do. So always write your formula down at the top, you guys. This is technically an equation. So C equals pi times diameter. I told you, fill in a variable for what you don't know. Well, I don't know the circumference here. I've got to fill it in with a variable. Pi is 3.14, and I'm multiplying that by my diameter. Well, it tells me the diameter is 12 inches. Okay, well, this one is easy. All I do is type it in my calculator. 3.14 times 12. That gives me 37.68. Now, notice, you guys, on that, it says round to the nearest tenth. We struggle with rounding, okay? So we're going to give a little bit of a review lesson on this real quick. So the tenths place is the first space after the decimal place. So I'm rounding this 6. Rounding means that I am changing this number or keeping it the same, okay? So I only want to see one digit after the decimal place if I'm rounding to the tenths. Remember, you guys, the number behind that, whatever you're rounding to, tells you what to do, okay? If it is lower than 5, so if it's 4, 3, 2, 1, or a 0, that number stays the same. If it's more than 4, so if it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it tells you to bump that number up one digit. So ask yourself, look at the number behind it. Is it lower than 4 or is it more? Well, this is an 8, so it is bigger than 4. That tells me to go up. So instead of having 37.6, I'm going to have circumference equals 37.7. Now, if this number here was a 2, for example, I would stay the same because it's lower than 4. So I would have 37.6. Okay, so it all depends on that number after what you're rounding to. Okay, all right, let's do another one. Present. Okay, we got a baseball now. The radius of, well, it's supposed to say baseball. The radius of this baseball is 2.5 inches. What is the circumference of the pizza? Well, baseball, round to the nearest tenth. Okay, well, this gives me radius, so it probably makes the most sense to use the formula with radius in it. Okay, C equals 2 times pi times radius. Circumference equals 2 times pi times radius. Remember, we're filling in what we know using a variable for what we don't. So I don't know circumference, so that's going to be my variable. 2, well, luckily they give me the number 2, so I can just fill that in. Also, luckily, I always know what pi is, and that's 3.14. And then my radius, it gives me in the problem. It's 2.5 inches. So I'm filling in 2.5. Okay, well, this one's another easy one. I'm literally just multiplying these three numbers together, and I can do that in my calculator. So I'm going to type 2 times 3.14 times 2.5. And that gives me 15.7. And that one's easy peasy. There's nothing after that 7, so I don't even have to round. It already did it for me in the calculator. Okay, so that would be my answer. All right, next one. Okay, we got another pizza. All right, circumference of this pizza is 24 centimeters. What is the diameter of the pizza? Round to the nearest tenth. Okay, you guys notice this one's a little bit different. It gives me something different this time. I am still using circumference. Now notice, it's asking me for diameter here. So since I see the word diameter in that problem, I'm going to use the formula with diameter in it. So I'm going to use pi times diameter. Okay, it gives me circumference here. So I'm filling that in the circumference spot, in the C spot, okay? Pi, we know what that is. That's 3.14. Y'all will know that by the end of this unit, okay? Diameter, I don't know what that is, you guys, so I use a variable to represent it. We know how to solve this, okay? We know how to solve for a variable when there is a number next to it. Right now, it's 3.14 times d. To get d by itself, I need to divide out that number on both sides. So notice this one's a little bit different. So diameter is going to equal 24 divided by 3.14. That gives me a big long number in my calculator if you're doing it with me. It says 7.6433, whatever. I'm just going to write 7.64 so I can show my rounding. And this is a 4. It's telling me that I stay the same because it's less than 5. So my diameter is 7.6. All right, last one. Okay, the circumference of this pizza is 24 centimeters. What is the radius of the pizza? Oh man, I erased my work already. I could have made this really easy on myself. Okay, nothing has changed, you guys. Well, oops, nothing has changed here. If I had kept my work, I could actually do something pretty neat, okay? So remember, on that last problem, we used C equals pi times diameter because we were solving for it. We filled in all that information. It was 3.14. Oops. It was 24 equals that times diameter. We divided it out. And we ended up getting diameter equals 7.6. Well, the reason I rewrote this, you guys, is you can make it easy on yourself. If you already have the diameter, like if you've already solved for that, remember, the radius is half of the diameter, which is the diameter divided by 2. So if I already have this diameter, if I've already solved for it for the last problem, I can just divide that by 2 and get my answer. So that would give me 3.8. So the 3.8 is equal to the radius. On the other side of things, if you don't make that connection, you also know that you have a formula that uses radius, which is 2 pi r. Okay, so we can still fill in our information. 24 equals 2 times 3.14 times r. Now notice, you guys, this would be, you have to make the connection. You have got to simplify this first because 2 can be multiplied by 3.14. So when I do that, and I combine like terms, I actually get 6.28 times r. So to solve, I would divide that, and I get the exact same answer. Okay, so that is 2 ways to do that. All right, you guys, that is the lesson for today. You are good to go for your practice.